Thanks for joining me while we look at some photography basics. While I'm not a professional photographer, nor have I had any formal training in photography, this video will present some of what I've learned over the past 3 years about photography while using bridge cameras. This photo was taken in Yellowstone's Lamar Valley with a Lumix FZ80. Let's explore the exposure triangle. The elements on each leg of this triangle determine when a photo is properly exposed. If photography could be condensed into one slide, this is the one I would choose. Each side of the triangle represents an element of exposure. Each of these three elements has a wide range of values. If the values are correct and one value is changed, adjustment is required to either one or both of the other elements. There are many possible combinations of these elements' values that can result in proper exposure. Knowing which elements to adjust in order to produce the desired results is the challenge in learning photography. One side of the triangle represents shutter speed, which is a measurement of the time that the shutter is opened, permitting light to pass through the lens. Times can be measured in minutes, seconds, or fractions of seconds. Note that as time increases, the more motion is blurred, while shorter times tend to freeze motion. Another leg of the triangle represents ISO values. ISO is an abbreviation for International Standards Organization. This organization sets standards for measuring light. Light that passes through a camera lens reacts with film or is detected by a light-sensitive sensor. The lower the ISO number, the less sensitive the film or sensor is to light. Conversely, the higher ISO numbers indicate greater sensitivity. Higher ISO numbers result in noise or graininess in the photo. The third leg of the triangle represents aperture, or the size of the opening that passes light through the lens. The opening size is expressed as a fraction. That is f over a number. F stands for focal length, and the number is the diameter of the opening. The larger the f number, also referred to as the f-stop, the smaller the opening. Thus, opening size and f number are inversely proportional. Moving from one f-stop to the next highest number cuts the amount of light in half, while moving from one f-stop to the next lowest number doubles the amount of light. As the diameter of the lens opening increases, the depth of field decreases. Higher f-stop numbers means smaller openings result in a greater depth of field. Practical takeaways from the exposure triangle. 1. Higher shutter speeds tend to freeze motion, while lower shutter speeds tend to blur motion. 2. Higher ISOs add noise and will tend to make photographs have a grainy appearance. 3. Larger apertures will tend to reduce the depth of field, while smaller apertures will increase the depth of field. This photo of mallards was taken at Maxwell Nature Preserve in Murphy, Texas, with a Nikon P1000. The cameras that I am familiar with, except for phone cameras and the GoPro type cameras, have a mode dial. The lettering and graphics on these dials are not standardized and differ between manufacturers. However, the letters M, S, A, and P are pretty much standard. There is usually also an automatic mode. The automatic mode on the camera in the photo is represented by a small camera graphic with IA printed on it. The N stands for manual, while the S and the A stand for shutter speed and aperture. 2 of these values are seen in the exposure triangle. ISO values are controlled by a different control or in the setup menus. If manual is selected, the photographer has control over most all of the elements that go into exposing a photo. If shutter speed is selected, the photographer has control over the shutter speed, while the camera controls the rest. Conversely, if the A is selected, the photographer has control over the aperture, while the camera has control over the rest. The P stands for program mode, which is mostly in automatic mode, but gives the photographer some input through a wide range of menu settings. The automatic mode gives the camera almost all control over the exposure. Thanks for viewing. Please check out my videos on wildlife photography using bridge cameras. This photo of turtles was taken at the Heard Nature Preserve in McKinney, Texas, with a Nikon P1000.